What's up, you guys? Chet-Guthrie, the Dream Poet here, coming to you all from a beautiful November day here in North Georgia. To be more specific in that, we are at the Eota Mounds here in Cartersville, Georgia. It's about 30 minutes north of Atlanta, probably about maybe 10 minutes south of White, Georgia. But anyway, you guys, we are going to check out something really, really cool. If you all remember in the last video, I went out to Brentwood, Tennessee to see the Fuchs Mounds, which really, one of them was really cool, but we didn't really get a full, awesome experience with the mounds. So anyway, we're at the Eota Archaeological Museum, where there are 3 mounds. One of them is extremely tall. It pierces up out of the ground, and it is really awesome. So without further ado, you guys, we're going to go inside. We're going to check it out. Etowah Archaeological Museum. And now, before we go inside, let's check out some of the markers. The Etowah Mounds has been designated as a registered National Historic Marker, and that was done in 1904. And of course, the Etowah chief, very similar to the Cherokee chiefs of the time. He's got a tomahawk, he's got some kind of drawing utensil, and the artist behind this was Barry Henderson in 2021. This is some amazing work. And this is really awesome. Here are some wood carving pieces that you would find from the time period. And having seen these, you guys, let's go inside and let's check out the mounds. Before we check out the mounds, let's check out a little bit of the museum. Looks like most of the artifacts should be on loan. Usually when you see open display cases, that's usually what's going on, or at least in my opinion. Check this out. It's a canoe. And now this is very interesting. This was De Soto's route. If you all don't know, Spain were the original colonists and pilgrims of the time. You see, many people associate De Soto with St. Augustine, but really their journey started in West Florida. And they went all the way up through Georgia, South Carolina, part of North Carolina, Tennessee, where Bradley County is, where I'm from, and Alabama, and I think their journey ended in Texas. And of course, this is where European diseases came in and took its toll on the Native Americans. And now I kind of doubt that this is original, just because if it were, that's pretty good shape for 300 years old. But it looks like it was for food gathering. And some of the things that you would see in these particular areas, you've got black walnut, you've got mussels, buckeyes, what else do they have here? Persimmons, gourds, and maize, blueberries, and well, corn. And there is a movie that plays in here, but we're not gonna watch it today. But we will take a look at some of the artifacts that were found here at the Indian Mounds. Some very cool pottery. And this kind of shows how the daub houses were made. By the way, there is a recreation on the property we will be checking out, but I think it's really cool. Check out how they were made. Started out with wood, clay, and also some flint modules. Now, you guys, we're going to go out here to the lobby, and we are going to check out the diorama of the Etowah Mounds. Here is a representation of what the Indian Etowah Mounds look like. Of course, as you all know, you have the 3 primary mounds. The big one right there, the one in the middle, and the one right over there. The one we will be walking on top of today is this big one right here. And I believe by way of the Mississippian people, usually the biggest mounds, I believe, were the ceremonial ones. So anyway, guys, let's get outside. Let's check it out. Now you all will notice a major difference between the mounds that you will see here today and the Fuchs Mounds in Brentwood, Tennessee. It seems like these are in way better shape. When those mounds were excavated in 1895 and in 1920 in Brentwood, Tennessee, I think that they took a lot away from it. The Etowah mounds here are, well, actually much more impressive. Here is a daub house. This daub house was built in April of 2008 by American Indians, Etowah staff, and volunteers. This particular house is something you would have seen between 1250 AD and 1350 AD. Of course, AD meaning after death. So about 700-800 years ago. Let's go inside, just to get an idea of how these people lived many years ago. Imagine, much like a cabin, you would have a fire pit in the middle. Much like a chimney, it would rise up and the heat would heat the entire building. And also, it's very similar to rituals as well, or ceremonies. Now this is really cool. Right beside that daub house, they also have a handmade canoe. And it's kind of interesting how Native Americans would make canoes. Is that, well, they would cut the tree down, they'd split it, and then they would go and they would burn the inside of it, and they would dig it out. Actually, you can kind of see some leftovers of cutting, like right here in the burning. I mean, it is very cool to see how Native Americans of the time would make such little boats, and it took months from what I understand. And now this is really fascinating. Normally you would probably just think of something like this as a ditch, but no, about 300 years ago, imagine Native Americans digging up the dirt and building these mounds. So present day, this ditch right here, this was all the leftovers of the Native Americans, the Mississippian people who built these mounds. This is where all the dirt came from. And right across the bridge, you will see the very large one right up there. And another cool thing about these ditches also served as a first line of defense. For whatever the people were going through or defending themselves from, imagine your enemy trying to get into this ditch from the other side, only to fall and probably get hit by a spear, or stones, hatchets, tomahawks, you name it. And now this is something really awesome. All these plants right here that you see in this field, all these were planted intentionally. You see, many plants about 700-800 years ago to about 1200 years ago, the Mississippian people, some plants they considered as sacred or important. One of those plants was maize, or maize. Maize today, its descendant is corn, which I really think is pretty cool how the Georgia State Park Service has planted original plants out here just to simulate just the history of what this time in human existence was like. And plus, I like the peacefulness behind it. It just seems to go on for miles. I actually think this park is about 70 acres. Or, I'm probably just thinking about that ditch over there. Originally, that ditch was about 70 acres. Just goes to show how much dirt was used to build said mounds. It's like the closer I get to it, the more bigger it is. I'm guessing probably stands about maybe 100, 200 feet high. Guess maybe about 500, 6 feet in length or width. We haven't even got up close to it yet. Now, as we're walking to the mounds, you all must be wondering to yourselves, what happened to these people? Well, I can tell you a little bit about it. They believe around the 1550s is when the culture, the population in this area started going down. Many archaeologists believe that from there, the people in this area, the Mississippian people, they made their boats and they made their way down into Alabama. They do think a big part of it was because of European encroachment. Around that time, you had De Soto from Spain making his way through this area. And then, of course, you know, you've also got the British who came in here somewhere around the 1700s, but I don't think they were a reason why the population in this area, this once great Mississippian mound, or this once great Mississippian city, to go down. But it's just crazy to see like how European diseases affected these people so bad. And now this is something that is really cool. This is something that is still practiced by the Cherokee Nation. You have the chunky stone and you also have the stick ball. The Cherokee word for stick ball actually translates to little brother of war. And the chunky stones, well, you'd have young Cherokee children. They would throw these spears and hit the chunky stone. And what this would do is this would help the children, especially boys in the tribes, to perfect their hunting skills, to help, you know, provide food for their families and whatnot. And here is a bit more history about it. Okay then, there are actually more than 3 mounds. Looks like there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, the big one, and also the borrow pit, which we have already seen. These mounds took a lot of dirt. So aside from the 6 mounds in total, these big ones right here are the most important. Now I can't remember if it was the ceremonies that took place on the bigger mounds or that it's where the chiefs lived. I think once we get up to this sign, that might answer my question a little bit more. And it's going to be interesting to go up to the top of it. Okay, here is an illustration of what these mounds used to look like. Etowah was a Native American chiefdom. Chiefdoms consisted of a highly structured social order and permanent political officers. Kinship ruled guided social ranking, and political officers received the right to rule in virtue of birth. As both a political and religious leader, a chief ruled until his death. From his temple and home atop Mound A, the chief would rule his people and perform religious ceremonies. Ceremonies. So, I mean, looks like I was about right. Except it's not 200 feet tall like I thought. It's only about 65 feet high. It is amazing how some things, you know, look so large, but when you actually do your research on it, it's like, how is this thing that small? Making our way up 65 feet. But the cool part about it is beneath these wooden steps is the actual wood stairs. Well, not wood stairs, the actual like ground stairs that the chiefs and other people, political figures in this area would use to do their ceremonies. And this is where the chief would live. I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting a little bit worn out. There are a lot of stairs here. We're still not to the top. And look at that view. You know, this does not, I do not think that this is 65 feet. There's no way. No way. Look at that view. And we're still walking. Looks like there was a tree there at some point. Probably got cut down. More than likely. Probably when this place became a state park. Oh God. And we have made it to the top of the Chief's Mound. And look, there's a seat for all the fat people. Oh, good Lord. Okay, now. Well, there's Mound B. I believe that's Mound B. And over there is Mound C. And if you look below there, you can kind of see, well, I don't think that is for vehicles. I'm kind of wondering if this is how people of the time walked up these mounds. I mean, because this mound is gigantic, and you can see for miles and miles around. The cool thing about this is we are standing on something that is close to 400 years old, maybe even 800. Just right across the way, something that was more or less built like maybe 50, 60 years ago, probably around the 70s, maybe even 60s. A power plant. Think about it. Who would have thought that the people, the Mississippian people, would have thought that right here, where they would do all their ceremonies, where their chief would live until they died, right across the way, there'd be a power plant. Who would have known? And once again, we will take a look into this beautiful view one more time before we head to Mound B. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous view. And imagine so long ago, you had daub houses everywhere. These big clay houses that would be here for miles. The Native Americans, the Mississippian people, they would get their water from the Etowah River, which is right over there. It was a more peaceful time back then, more peaceful era. It's interesting to see what has happened. See what happened 3 or probably 4, several hundred years later. Now we are walking down these long set of stairs. All right, now that we have seen that, what does it say about Mound B? Archaeological excavations show that Mound B's first 2 construction phases took place during Etowah's late Etowah period, 1100 to 1200. So about the course of about 100 years. This construction resulted in a small platform mound, about 1/2 of its final size. After a short period, when the site was abandoned, construction continued on Mound B from about 1250 to 1350 or 1325. Mound building increased the footprint of the mound to the north, and structures were built on its summit. There we go. And this is kind of what an idea of the pattern of what this structure was on Mound B. And luckily, this isn't too bad of a hike to get up here. Of course, there's Mound C. I imagine probably similar case of way back when. But I will tell you, these mounds are very tall. Okay. That wasn't too bad that time. It's quiet. Except for maybe a lawnmower. You know, and I think it's interesting how Mound C is kind of more of a pyramid shape. And of course the Chief's Mound, which is just uberly huge, which, yeah, I think it makes more sense now, maybe. Well, maybe not. I don't know. In the comments below, let me know. Like, this right here, was this the proper way that they took to walk up the mound? Or is it where these stairs are now? I'd like to know. This is awesome. Compared to the Fuchs Mounds in Brentwood, Tennessee, these are so much cooler. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe that the Etowah Mounds were more of a capital site, whereas the Fuchs Mounds at the Boiling Springs Mounds were just a small community. Still, this is uberly cool. But anyway, guys, remember, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Always means a lot. It goes to show that y'all care and that y'all want to see more awesome videos. So without further ado, you guys, this vlog is over.